Hi everyone, I'm Hylton and I'm the Head of Security here at Conosco. I'm joined by my colleague John Flynn, our Principal Security Consultant, who's an expert in all things governance, risk and compliance. And today we'll be discussing the potential changes to data protection post-Brexit coming at the end of 2020. Current official guidance is unfortunately rather fluid in the run-up to the end of the year and subject to change at any time, so please confirm any guidance given during this session. So first and foremost, John, does this spell the end for GDPR?
Good afternoon, Hilton. No, on the contrary, it actually spells a slightly new beginning, in as much as it will be called the UK GDPR, which will replace the EU GDPR for UK businesses and UK head office based businesses. So the UK GDPR, it will be based on the Data Protection Act 2018, exactly the same as the EU GDPR, but the only change will be at the 1st of January will be that all of companies' privacy notices will need to be updated to state UK GDPR rather than EU GDPR.
Okay, great, I see. So now that we understand that it's essentially here to stay with us, what changes are potentially likely to come into fruition in the UK GDPR?
So standard contractual clauses will need to be in place for any data coming from the EU into the UK. There's no change on data going out of the UK to EU, but the change there, the big change, is that anything coming into the UK will need to be under a standard contractual clause to cover that both parties are adhering to the data controller and the data processor rules of GDPR. We have actually applied for an adequacy assessment with the EU, which would negate the requirement for standard contractual clauses to be used with EU clients. But at this moment in time, no decision has been made on that. And until a decision has been made on that, then the advice from the ICO is to use standard contractual clauses.
Okay, and that we'll probably, hopefully, have some feedback generally on the adequacy decision at some point in the future, but there's no idea at this point whether it will be approved or not, unfortunately.
No, that's true. We have applied. There's no reason why we shouldn't be approved. The same as any of the other. We're classed as a third country now, not now, but from the 1st of January. So we'll be exactly and treated exactly the same as Andorra, Argentina, Guernsey, the Isle of Man, Israel, Jersey, New Zealand, Switzerland, and Uruguay. As a adequate country that has adequate provisions in place for the safeguard of general data protection.
All right, great. I mean, from our client's perspective, I've been hearing a lot of uncertainty around how any coming changes will or will not affect their day-to-day operations, especially true, I think, for clients that host data in the EU, in the cloud. I think that's a big concern of theirs. And with that in mind, what can business leaders do to get their data and their systems and their preparations in a better state, ready for whatever the changes might be?
Okay, so the UK-based company that has use of a system, a cloud-based system that's based in out of the UK and in somewhere in the one of the other 27 member states in the EU, there will be no change to accessing that data from a UK perspective. However, data that is then transferred into the into the UK from a cloud-based provider, then there has to be contractual clauses put in place so that that company is adhering to the UK version of the GDPR. The point of the UK changing from the EU's version is very much so that they're in control and have the right to cherry pick and change that GDPR in the future. So there's absolutely no real change at this moment in time, and won't be for the first few months, I would imagine. But there will in the future be changes, but nothing at present. There's no change whatsoever.
No. And in terms of the regulator, assuming the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office in the UK, will remain the regulator for data protection within the UK.
Absolutely, and continues to work with the EU equivalents in each of the member state countries as well. So yeah, absolutely no change there. The ICO is the regulator for the UK.
All right, perfect. And they will, just from clients' perspective that are or people that are listening, the ICO will publish guidance as it is effectively decided, I would imagine, and then that would be a good source of information for clients to initially check any new developments.
Absolutely. The ICO gave a webinar recently, and they've got some great help guides on their website, and I would advise any person listening to this conversation to actually go along to the ICO website. They've got templates for standard contractual clauses, and they're updating information there literally every day at the moment because something is changing. And there's some really good solid advice there from the ICO.
All right, great. And do you think there are likely to be any new laws or regulations that result from Brexit which may affect data handling?
There won't be any new laws as such. The point I keep coming back to is the standard contractual clauses, which has to be in place. Companies based in the UK will also have to update their privacy notice online to state UK GDPR specifically, which is a requirement. But if you've been practicing the requirements of GDPR up until this point, and you've mapped all of your processes and procedures within your business, there's not really a huge amount of change, and you won't see a huge amount of change immediately on the 1st of January. The only difference is, as I said earlier, is the data that comes into the UK from abroad must have a standard contractual clause to have assurance, or that your company has the assurance that that business is adhering to the regulation requirements.
Okay, all right. So do you think there's still likely to be fines for misuse of data as there is with the current EU GDPR? And just for those people listening's benefit, at present, I think those figures range from, on the low end, 10 million euros or the equivalent sterling, or 2% of annual worldwide turnover in the preceding financial year, right up to 20 million euros or the equivalent in sterling, and 4% of annual global turnover is what the current fines are.
Yes, absolutely, Hylton. There will be absolutely no change there, and the drive will be as hard as ever to come down on data breaches that occur. The ICO of the UK will be certainly looking at various companies, to see that they're adhering, and they'll unfortunately come down hard on data breaches.
All right, great. And I wonder if there are any specific sort of cybersecurity practices that you want to mention about protecting data in general.
Well, it's always good to have a health check, and you should be doing ongoing assessments during the year for GDPR compliance. I would certainly advise a gap analysis of performed by an expert, and you will find that's actually money well spent. And companies that involve themselves in cybersecurity and have information security controls in place and applied to their business are not only able to defend against attacks and hackers, etc., but they're far better placed to recover from an attack.
All right, perfect. I mean, that makes great sense. I think it's probably safe to say that the same general cyber and info security best practices that are currently recommended will remain in effect post-Brexit. That businesses should consider something like Cyber Essentials Plus certifications to assist in assuring cyber security as a good baseline, and that they should also consider implementing a good governance framework for data protection, such as ISO 27001 Information Security Management System, which will provide a good framework for information and data security. Although it is worth pointing out that these will contribute greatly to your ability to meet the requirements of data protection. They're in and of themselves no guarantee of compliance to current GDPR or UK GDPR requirements. I think is that safe to say?
Well, absolutely, yes. I mean, the Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. Cyber Essentials is 5 clauses and control points. Cyber Essentials Plus is 56, and the ISO, which is the international recognized standard 27001, has 114 control points, which are really robust security systems to put in any business. And the benefits are immeasurable, really, in this day and age, especially with all the different types of attacks, phishing emails and breaches that could potentially occur. It just makes common sense to have processes for information security actually in your business.
Great. I think one last question that comes up quite often is, do you think there are any specific industries that this is likely to affect the most in terms of data protection and the new UK GDPR?
No, it's going to affect everybody the same as it does now. The only difference in change maybe for larger businesses that actually have need to appoint an EU representative. If they have a large UK-based online business, for example, providing a digital service, then and that's in the EU, then if they don't have an EU representative, then they run the risk of being fined. So that's one sort of area of business that's larger and has both UK and EU presence.
All right, great. Well, thanks, John, for your valuable insights into the changes likely to come after Brexit with regards to data protection. I think the takeaway generally is that things will, for now, remain relatively the same. The same restrictions and requirements will apply, but overall, all guidance is subject to change post-Brexit and as new guidance is published from the ICO.
Absolutely. Just one final thing to add, just on the standard contractual clauses and contracts that you have with third parties and anybody that's managing any services for you as a business. Common sense would, are to use these and put them in place in any event, whether they're required by the GDPR rule or not, because it's a good working practice to have those in place so you safeguard your business and you're assured that any business that you work with or is working on your behalf actually use the same safeguards as you would. So very important.
All right, great. Very, very good advice. So yeah, I think that's it for our conversation. For anybody watching that needs specific advice on GDPR data protection, this is something that Conosco helps our clients with. Please feel free to reach out to us should you require any updated guidance. And otherwise, thank you very much, John. And everybody have a good afternoon.